Want to know all the costs that it takes to actually sell your home? What's all involved in closing costs here in Houston? I'm going to tell you exactly what all those closing costs are on this episode of Ryan in Real Estate. Now, when you go to sell a home, you're gonna get this settlement statement on it. It's gonna have all these different costs. It's gonna cost you to sell that home. I'm gonna break down what are the exact things that you have to pay and maybe some of the things that you don't necessarily have to. It's a choice, but let's dive into it. If you haven't done so, take a minute, like us, subscribe to us, leave us a comment. If you have a question, drop us a question that we could answer for you. We would love to tackle any questions that you may have. Okay, so when you go to sell a house, there are closing costs that you're going to occur, and there's fees and expenses during the transfer of this property ownership. I'm going to tell you what those things are and really break it down for you to understand exactly what it entails. Typically, the largest portion of the closing cost is the commission, and that is what you're going to pay to your agent to help you sell your home. That includes everything that agent's going to do to list, sell, market. Everything should be included typically with what you're going to pay that. Typically here in Houston, the standard rate for that is 3%. Then you have the option, and if you looked at the videos a few back about the NAR settlement, you have the option to decide what you want to choose to offer to the buyer to give to the buyer's agent as commission. Now, we would highly suggest that you offer a commission to the buyer to be able to give to the buyer's agent so they're not having to bring that cost in. It's going to provide you an opportunity to get more buyers looking at your property if you are offering that commission. Now, you don't have to, but it's going to make it way easier, and you're probably, in my experience, going to see more buyers want to view your property and potentially put an offer on your property. So if you, let's just say you offered 3% to the listing agent and 3% to give to the buyer's agent, that would be a total of 6%. Let's just say you're selling a $450,000 house. That's going to come out to $27,000 for those brokers to make that transaction of the property and transfer the ownership. Now, what are the other costs that are included? The next part comes in with title insurance. Title insurance is basically, they're going to do a title search on behalf of you to be able to ensure that the property has no liens or no claims. And then obviously if any of those liens or claims come up that you may know about or did not know about, you're going to have to pay those as well. But typically that ranges between $1,000 and $2,000, really dependent on the value of the property. The next thing you're going to need to do is pay a prorated amount of your property taxes. So whatever your property taxes are versus however long you've owned the home, you're going to have to pay a prorated amount on whatever those property taxes may be. Next thing would be the transfer and recording fees. Now, this covers the cost of actually transferring the title to the buyer. In Houston, most sellers are going to pay between $500 to $1,500 for this to happen. And then lastly, it's going to be some concessions that you're probably going to have to give to the buyer for different repairs. Now, on average, we usually see this to be around somewhere between $500 to $2,000. Now, sometimes it's way more than that, and sometimes it's not really anything, but it really kind of depends on how your agent negotiates for you for those repairs. So there's where the closing costs come into play and how much they typically are. But if you were just to take a roundabout figure and go, how could I figure out exactly what my closing costs are? Here's what I would tell you to estimate. I would estimate between 7 and 8% of the sales price of your home that you sell it for be the actual amount of closing costs. So if we're using that home that's $450,000 an example, that would be somewhere between $30,000 and $36,000 in total, all in, that you would pay to sell your home. That is all the closing costs. Now, I may have missed some little small ones or different circumstances on each different property, but for the most part, this is the 95% of the homes they're selling. These are the closing costs that are involved. There you have it. If you have any questions or you want to know what it would look like to actually sell your home this coming spring, and of course, if we can answer any questions that you have, always feel free to reach out to us. I am Ryan Adams with the Adams Group. We are here to help you in any way we can. We'll see you next time on Ryan in Real Estate.